Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I'm going to start off this morning by showing you a roll-up piano, and this is it. It's called a roll-up piano because, as you can see, you can just roll it up. As a matter of fact, it came in a very small box all rolled up. And I think that did it some damage, but at any rate, that's the way it came. And I used it a lot. I used it to go into nursing homes when I played in orchestras that went into nursing homes and so forth. And I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun with it because when I was playing, like for funerals, there would be a lot of people there who'd never seen one. Even pianists had never seen one. And so when I walked in with a piano draped around my arm, they had trouble wrapping their heads around it, and then I would flatten it out with a flourish, and then I'd put it on a flat surface. Now what I did for the flat surface is I got some foam board and cut it to size. I covered it with contact paper, wood contact paper, but I didn't really need to do that. That was just to make it look better. Flattened it out and then started playing it. And there was endless fascination with it. And I loved doing it. And it had about 40 settings on it. And the 40 settings are different types of organs, brass, voices, and so forth, orchestral settings. And it sounded realistic, it really did. It sounded very good. It's not playing now, so what I've done is to make it easier to carry, on this end there was a little squarish piece with buttons on it, and with that you control the settings that you wanted, the volume and all of that. And I cut that part off because it wasn't playing anyway. But this is the whole roll-up piano. Now the roll-up piano has two problems. And the problem that I found is that you could get yourself a shoulder injury playing it because these keys do not depress. And so you're in there, and I don't have a flat surface here with me to demonstrate, but you put your finger down on a key and it stays as it is. You can't press it down. So that means you're putting pressure on your shoulder and your arms and your wrist, and you actually, if you play it a lot, you can get injured that way. You can have an overuse injury from that. And if you have an overuse injury anyway, as I did because I played a lot over the years, it makes it worse. It makes your shoulders worse. You don't feel so good. But at any rate, it's a very handy thing to have. The other second problem that I have with it is every so often they just quit. They go for a few months. A year and a half, I think, is the most that I had one, and then it just stopped playing, and it won't play again. And you could put batteries in it, but that doesn't change the fact that it's done. So they don't sell near as much as they used to, but I want to show you some things about a piano using this. It actually is a pretty good-sized keyboard. It's not a full keyboard with the 88 keys, but it is somewhat like it. I mean, it's not a tiny one that I would have. That I would have, you know, if I took out one of my melodicas or something like that. So you have a different number. You've got about 3 or 4 octaves here. This here is a C, and this here is a C. There's 1 octave. This is another C, that's a 3rd octave, and here's a C, that's 4 octaves. That's quite a bit. So what can I show you with this? I've been wishing I had it with me more because I can show you a lot. If you need to know something about the piano, and everybody does need to know something about the piano if you're going to be a musician, then you need to know that you only go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then after you get to G, you go back to A. So I want to show you where some things are. It's large enough, so I think you won't have any trouble seeing it. So we'll get that all set up, and I'll be able to show you what I want to show you. I'm not trying to make piano players out of you, but you need to know what I need to teach you, because you need to know, if you have an understanding of music, where do the keys come from? How do they relate to each other? And that's a whole study in itself. So going back to this chart, let's say this would be middle C. It isn't really, but let's say it is. You have 2 black notes, And then to the left, you have C. Two black notes, and then to the left is a C. And that's the same way all over the keyboard. The two black notes, you notice you have 2, and then you have 3, and then you have 2, and then you have 3. If you take the ones with the 2 and do the white note, point to the white note that's next to the left of those series of 2, that's always going to be a C. Now an octave is 8 notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And the top note is just a repeat of the lowest note, 8 notes to an octave. And so if I wanted to point out, and you want to use your skills knowing your alphabet, 2 steps down from the C is the A. The A is right here. And if I wanted to go further, this is G, F, E, D, and C. But let's say start with the A. The A is right here. On this octave, the A is right here. It's 2 steps down from that C. This is another A. It's 2 steps down from the C. So using your alphabet, the range of notes is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then what happens after that? It goes right back to the A again. There is no note Q or P or any of the other kinds of alphabet, the symbols. It's just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then back to the A. Well, why is that? It's just what we hear. If I play this G, well, let me use one of my recorders here and I can show you. If I play a G, which is going to be right here, and then I go to an A, I'm starting just like this A or this A. It's just up or down. So here's your G, and here's your A. And if I'm going to do it to a higher octave, it's the same thing except higher. But the G always goes into an A. There's nothing in between. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G go back to the A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's the way it is. And so that's all the notes you have from A to G, but you have them in different octaves. You can get them in a higher octave or a lower octave, but they're the same note, just up or down an octave. That's just what we hear. Now, there may be other notes in the universe, and I'm sure there are, that we don't hear. Animals can hear more than we can hear. But we as human beings can hear A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then back to the A. That's what we hear. There's limitations in what our ears can pick up. The higher elevations may be harder to hear, but it's still the same A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, it's an interesting thing on the black notes. The black notes, I can feel them here. They're a tiny bit raised up, but not much. They are your sharps, for the most part, your sharps and your flats. So if this is by F, and that's right here, then an F sharp is right here. But if this is by G, and I lower it, I get that note. So that G, which is flatted, G flat, is the same as this F sharp. It's the same note. But if it's sharped from something below it, and if it's flatted from the note above it. Those are enharmonic notes. So you have enharmonic notes all over the keyboard. It's the same tone, but you can write it as a sharp, or you can write it as a flat. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, go back to the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now the key of C, what's called the C major scale, has no sharps and has no flats. So if you start from C, which is right here, and I pointed this out, right to the left of these two is C. C, D, E, F, G. And then right back to the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that's the whole thing. And so it's interesting to see that and see where the flats and the sharps are. This is going to be the F sharp. This is going to be the G flat. Well, what about a B sharp? A B sharp is really a C. A C flat is really a B. And that's just a half a step. To have a full step, you need to have 2 half steps. But here you only have a half step. So B to C is going to be 1 half step. And let's see, E to F, the same thing, 1 half step. But that's the way the scale has been written. And it's all based upon so many half steps and so many whole steps. So if you have a scale is just running up and down. And I'm going to just do it on this recorder so you can see. Now I'm in the key of D when I do that with 2 sharps, but it's a whole scale. Here I'm using different flats. Now, I use both sharps and flats when I played something like that, which I just kind of made up out of my head. If you look at the recorder, you're going to see most of them like this. Some of them are not. There's going to be 2 little holes down here. Whoops, let me get it. So it's 2 little holes down here. You can see them. And then there's 2 little holes up here. What are they for? Well, they're to help you do sharps and flats. That's what they're for, and it works out well. But of course, when you get something like this is an older German recorder, and I hope you'll be able to see all right, because it's darker in color, it may not show up. Here, maybe I could get it. So it doesn't have those little holes. And it's also not split in 3 parts. It only has 2 parts. It has the head joint and the body and the foot joint together as one joint. And if I get it so the light can reflect on it, then it's easier for you to see it that. That's what I'm trying to do. Not very successfully, but there it is right there. You can see from the reflection what those holes are, even though they're harder to see. So we have sharps and flats. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you something about how scales are written. Here's your C. Here's your D. I'm sorry. Here's your C. Here's your D. That happens to be a step. Why is it a step? Because there's a black note between them. Your G and your A, your A and your B, I'm sorry. This is a half step. This is your E. I got to start from here. C, D, E, F, G. Okay, C to D is a full step. D to E is a full step. E to F is a half a step. Why is it a half a step? There's no black note there. Then F to G is a full step. G to A is a full step. A to B is a full step, and B to C is a half a step. So you have a pattern here. You have step C to D, step D to E, half step from E to F, step from F to G, step from G to A, step from A to B, B to C, a half step. So it's like step, 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 half step, 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 half step. And all of the major scales are written according to that format. Step, step, half step, 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 half step, 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 half step. So you have 2 half steps and the rest are whole steps in any kind of a major scale. Now how that plays out in different keys is if you start in a different key, then the whole pattern is the same, but it's going to be on different notes because you've started on a different note. It's not all C, it's G, F, A, B flat. It's all the same pattern, even though you start on different notes. So this is what is helpful to remember. You have the C in the middle. You have 4 octaves. This is a full 4 octave, but that's not a full scale. You have 4 octaves on the right of the middle note, and you have 3 octaves on the left of the middle note. Now I'm going to take this down. And if I were actually playing it, which I did, I used to drape it over an arm, and everybody would be staring at it because most people had never seen them before. Now, let me take, I want to take a chart here to show you some things. This is a full, the keys are small because I just kind of drew it. But it's a full keyboard with 88 keys. A full keyboard has 88 keys. This will be a little harder to see because I had to make the keys really smaller in order to fill it in. So here goes. I'll explain this when we get a good, that's great. Thanks, Rick. That is really good. When I show a keyboard, the recorders play two octaves, and so I'm concentrating from here to here. But you have to remember when I show a piano keyboard with 2 octaves, I'm showing what the recorder can play. There's all kinds of notes to the left, and there's notes to the right. And so you have to remember that I'm showing you kind of the middle of the keyboard, which is what the recorders can do. So here's your C, and 2 below it is your A. So, and this is why I put the A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and back to the A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way up and down the scale. That's the way it is. So I've marked some things here. This is the notes as they would appear on the staff, and it's too small for you to actually see well, so I'm going to show it to you on another graph. A little later on, if we have time to do that. But this C is here, this D is here, this E is here, this F is here, and what I've done is I put the fingerings on, and I put the notes as they appear on a piano keyboard, and I put the notes as they appear on the staff. So you can look from one to the other. This would be kind of like a fingering chart. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And since the recorders played the 2 octaves, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, that's the range that most of the woodwinds play. Now the flutes can play 1 octave higher. They can get up here. That's another octave up. And the pianos can do another octave up above that. So therefore, they have a bigger range. And they also, the keyboards can do all the way down to that low A, which is the lowest note of the keyboard. But the woodwinds, that most of them play in this range. The flutes go a little higher. Some of them can go a little lower. The saxophones can go to that B, that's a B flat right there, and the clarinets can go to this range down here. So there are some differences in the ranges, but most of the woodwind instruments play within that range. So let me show you another keyboard here, and I'll be continuing with this next time because I can't finish it on this time because we don't have enough time to do that. But look at this. I've got this is much bigger. It's not a full keyboard, but remember, I'm doing the range that the recorders can play from this low C to this high C. Here's your A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It actually goes to the F. And the same down here, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and continues up to this octave. So I made it larger, but I wanted you to see, here's the A, and it's 2 steps below that C. And when you have the two black notes, which are all sharps and flats, by the way, and you go 2 below it, you get the A. And using the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then returning to A. Now, it's kind of too bad that that's all we hear. But that's the range of what we can hear. So I'm running out of time. I've got more to show you, but I don't want to start something and not be able to finish it. So I'm going to close it here, and we'll continue with this next time. Please join me then.